So I have figured out exactly who Joe Biden is when it comes to some of what he was saying yesterday. Finally waking up and deciding, gosh, I guess as the president of the United States, I should probably get out there and say something about these protests that are taking place on college campuses all over the country. It's about time that I guess I do something, huh? So he steps to the podium, and he sounded exactly like the substitute teacher. The substitute teacher who's filling in for the day, who's like, hey, kids in the back row, stop screwing around. Hey, listen to me over here. When the kids in the back row know there is no teeth to that threat. They do not fear the substitute teacher. They never have, and they never will. And that was Joe Biden yesterday.
So let me be clear. Peaceful protest in America. Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. It's against the law when violence occurs. Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's against the law. Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest. Threatening people, intimidating people, instilling fear in people is not peaceful protest. It's against the law.
Okay, Pops. Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah.
Come on,
we
man.
got. Oh, yeah. That's cute. All right. You think anybody who was on any of these college campuses were moved by that speech yesterday? Do you think they really give a damn what Joe Biden's saying about any of this? Especially considering the last time we had a movement like this was 4 years ago, post-George Floyd riots. And Joe Biden was cheering them on. He was using them for political gain. His vice president was promoting fundraisers for people getting arrested in Minneapolis. You really think that these same people who are protesting in large part 4 years later, because it's not actually about the issue at hand, that's the thing. I mean, these protests are no longer even really about, in large part, anything to do with Israel, with Gaza, with the Palestinians. It's become so much more than that. Now they've just got every left-wing demand that they can possibly latch onto. Do you think that these people really are listening to him? When he used them effectively 4 years ago, he used their movement effectively 4 years ago to, in large part, beat Donald Trump? Okay. All right, Pops, we got you. Okay, yeah, sure thing. Go give your little speech and let us know when you're done. In the meantime, we're going to keep protesting. I didn't see any protests shut down yesterday because of Joe Biden's speech. I didn't see anybody listen to a word that he said. Joe Biden gave that speech because, well, he kind of felt like he needed to show like regular people, the 85 to 90% of the population that thinks this is nuts and that college campuses should not be standing for any of this or putting up with any of this. He was trying to appeal to them, but he lost them. Stuff's been going on for 2 weeks almost in some cases. You really think that the average person is like, gosh, I was waiting for him to show up and he's finally talking now. Wow, this is great. No. He lost the moment. He had his chance a week ago to do this. He didn't do it. He dragged his feet. Why? Because of politics. Because he knows that these people are his voters or potential voters. It's really as simple as that. And he knows that this fine line that he is walking between Israel and Gaza, Hamas, however you want to frame them and phrase them, he knows that the politics of this are dicey. A lot of people believe that this ties back to Michigan, where there's a large Muslim population. It is a swing state, and obviously Joe Biden is banking in part on a big turnout from the Muslim population. And he thinks that will in part help him win Michigan and help him win the election, where it could come down to one or two states against Donald Trump. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic that this has anything to do with being on, the right side of history has anything to do with the politics of the moment, but unfortunately it does. And where he totally lost me, I don't know about you if you watched any of this yesterday. It was only a 3-minute speech that the president gave yesterday. But where he totally lost me was when he brought up Islamophobia, which is not at all what is happening in this country right now.
There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students. There is no place for...
Okay, so far so good, right? So far so good. Just stop right there. Stop. That's fine. 15 seconds. Stop right there. There's no place for anti-Semitism. That's it.
Hate speech or violence of any kind, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or discrimination against Arab Americans or Palestinian Americans. It's simply wrong. There's no place for racism in America. It's all wrong. It's un-American.
Are you kidding me? We have spent the last week and a half in this country watching vitriolic anti-Semitism on major American college campuses, some of the most supposedly prestigious universities in the country. And he does the whole, anti-Semitism is bad, but so is Islamophobia. I haven't seen a lot of that anywhere. I haven't seen a peep of that anywhere. Now, maybe somebody on some campus did respond to these individuals with some form of Islamophobia, but it in no way has been a broad part of the conversation in this country over the last week. It's not like people are picking sides between anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. It's really very simple. People are saying, hey, can you not be anti-Semitic? And can we support our Jewish brothers and sisters? That's it. It's not picking Islamophobia or anti-Semitism. I mean, that is a false narrative and a false choice that the president just created out of thin air. That is in no way the conversation that's happening in this country over the last, week or two. But he had to bring it up. I guess he had to make it seem like that was happening, even though it's not. Can you just condemn anti-Semitism? That's all you had to do. Get up there and condemn violence. Get up there and condemn anti-Semitism. That's all that most American people would have liked to hear from the president. But he had to cover all his bases. Racism is bad. Okay, talk to the people who are being racist right now in mass, or anti-Semitic right now in mass across the country. Those are the people that you need to talk to. Now, I understand, as we noted just a minute ago, some of these people he's hoping are going to vote for him, so he's got to cross the entire spectrum, so to speak. He can't just make it about the thing right now, because the thing right now is being driven by his potential voters and is clearly anti-Semitic. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about that. There's no sugarcoating that. It is vitriolic anti-Semitism. Call it what it is. They have no problem doing that in certain cases, but for some reason, when it comes to this issue and these individuals, they're scared to death. Coming up on KCMO, where are we at KU? The protests continued last night. We will tell you where those stand and what is going on with those as well. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM and the KCMO Talk Radio app. What do you say we check in at KU yesterday and see how day 2 of their protests were going there in Lawrence? Let's take a listen to what was happening outside of Chancellor Douglas Gerard's office. Here we go. Take a listen to this chant.
You're committing genocide! You're committing genocide! Gerard, you can't hide! Gerard, you can't hide! You're committing genocide! You're committing genocide!
Free Palestine! Woo, man! Woo! That's right. Happy Friday, baby. Does that not get you fired up? I'm sorry I did that to you on a Friday, but if I had to listen to it, I had to share it with you too. Unbelievable. That was outside of KU Chancellor Doug Girard's office yesterday. What was the first part of that chant again? One more time. Let me hear. You got it, Mark? Mark, you got that off the top of your head?
Gerard, you can't hide.
Yeah, there you go. Nice job.
Genocide. Got to go up with the inflection.
Yeah. Well, I noticed none of these people must have been in their high school choirs because they all suck at singing. I mean, they just have the worst voices. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Well, they'll repeat anything that's said. That's what's funny.
Well, that's
Ron
true.
Burgundy-like.
Yeah.
They'll just stand there mindlessly repeating.
They will. Gerard, you can't hide. You're committing genocide.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, yeah, that's
somebody
good.
that, yeah.
Well,
That's good, dude.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. Let me-
It's like they sat around the encampment all morning. We're going to Gerard's office. All right, what's our chant, guys? All right. Oh, that's a great idea. Gerard, you can't hide. You're committing genocide. All right, let's go. Oh, forgot my soy milk. Hang on one second here.
They steal it from D.C. You hear the people saying, Biden, you can't. They say it to Biden, too. They say it to anybody.
I guess it does work, really, with any name.
Well, that's in the Marxist handbook. 2-syllable name, 2-syllable name. Can't hide.
Yeah, you're
Rhymes with
committing
genocide. Yeah.
I guess, maybe this is nothing new then. Maybe it wasn't the playbook they got handed when they showed up to the encampment at campus.
I think there's a pattern here that goes. We can establish back to the 60s at least.
It certainly seems like that. So that was at KU yesterday. We kept in touch throughout the day with Sarah Green, a KU student who did an outstanding job on this show yesterday. She was a guest at about 8:30, and she shared stuff with us on this show that you did not hear anywhere else in local media, including what I thought was the most important part of what she had to say, and that is the careful coordination with which this encampment at KU seemed to be planned. Take a listen. This is KU student Sarah Green from yesterday.
Yeah, and there was one thing. I mean, right before the police were potentially coming, they were on the megaphone, giving these people, strict directions, and they all had a phone number written on their arm, with a Sharpie, in case they got arrested. That's the phone number to call. So I'm guessing that that's part of the organization where I'm sure the money's coming from as well.
What was the phone number? What's your area code out there? 785? Was it a 785 area code, or was it an area code that was unrecognizable?
I couldn't see it. I don't know.
But they all had a phone number on their arms.
Yes. I think right when they came in, they gave you a mask and they wrote the phone number. I mean, they said, I'm only writing this on you if you're okay with being arrested. So, the people consented and, were aware that that's potential.
So they gave them a mask if they entered the encampment, like one of those COVID masks or like a ski mask, or what kind of mask were they giving out?
It was a COVID mask, and if someone didn't wear it, they told them to leave. I know a few people got kicked out because they refused to wear the mask, and because they were encouraging people to cover below the eyes and above the eyebrows, just so they couldn't be identified.
That was KU student Sarah Green yesterday on the show. So they're handing out COVID masks at the KU Palestinian encampment. They are writing phone numbers in Sharpies on their arms if you're willing to be arrested. And then yesterday they're showing up outside Chancellor Doug Girard's office and doing those dopey chants. Doug Girard and the entire administration at KU has to put an end to this. Now, of course, we get it. Free speech is a thing. I understand it. But if you're diving headfirst into hate speech, which is what some of this is, if you're chanting, from the river to the sea, do you realize what that means? Do you realize what that's advocating for? That is explicitly advocating for the destruction and elimination of the state of Israel. That is no longer peaceful. I know some people might say, but it rhymes. It must be nice. No, that's not how it works. It is a very violent chant. Even if it's being chanted by numbskulls who couldn't tell you what river and what sea the chant refers to, it doesn't change the fact that it's a very inherently violent and anti-Semitic chant. So Doug Girard and the KU administration has to nip this thing in the bud. Now, as far as we know, they did a good job 2 nights ago. I'm still waiting for my first update this morning here at 6:25. But, these college kids, they sleep all morning. So I got to wait a little bit to get my full rundown here from Sarah and some of the other folks that we've reached out to there at KU. But KU needs to take care of this thing and take care of it now. And now that we're on 95.7 FM, we are blowtorching right through Lawrence. So I know you might think, well, Lawrence doesn't have the makeup of a lot of people who might listen. Trust me, we've got listeners now out in Lawrence on 95.7 FM. And for the Lawrence community at large, they need to put an end to this. The second anybody starts breaking laws, whether it's with tents, which KU did a good job of 2 nights ago from what Sarah told us, they shut down the tents. They didn't allow the tents to continue. Good for them, because that would have been illegal. But they need to stop with this stuff. They cannot acquiesce to any of these crazy demands that these protesters have at KU. And they've got to get law and order on the books as soon as possible. Because there is concern right now that with graduation taking place next weekend, there's starting to be some concern that KU, just like USC had to do, may have to back off of a full-scale graduation. At least that's being rumored and talked about on campus from some of the people that I've heard from. So, and if that happens, forget it. If you're a parent and you can't watch your kid in a full-blown graduation ceremony, or you're a kid and you can't walk in a full graduation ceremony because of these clowns, you know what? That is ridiculous. This administration will have let you down. 913-408-7957 as we roll through the morning here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, and the KCMO Talk Radio app. By the way, Bill O'Reilly is going to be here at 8 o'clock. So if you are normally at work by then, make sure you're streaming us at KCMOTalkRadio.com or the KCMO Talk Radio app. It is good to be here. Happy Friday morning. We've got a lot to get to with you as well on 95.7 FM, including this. What happened with a parade shooting suspect's sibling yesterday? We'll tell you next. Well, we can't forget about this story. We told you how earlier in the week, testimonies beginning to determine if a juvenile from the Chiefs Super Bowl rally shooting will be tried as an adult. There's no doubt in my mind that this person should be tried as an adult. And then yesterday, the sister of one of the suspects from the Chiefs Super Bowl rally shooting was detained following an outburst towards the judge. So Lindell Mays, 23-year-old from Kansas City, he's one of the guys that was arrested after that tragedy took the life of Lisa Lopez Galvin. And he is facing second-degree murder charges and other felonies tied to the shooting near Union Station. Jackson County Prosecutor's Office has said Mays was the first person to pull out a gun at the rally. So Mays appeared in court yesterday for a bond hearing. And in total, 3 men and 3 teenagers have been charged in relation to the rally shooting. 18-year-old Dominic Miller, police said, shot the bullet that killed Lisa Lopez Galvin. 22 others were wounded. Miller remains in the hospital and still has not appeared in court. But apparently, there was this outburst yesterday from Lindell Mays' sister in the courtroom. And, we don't really know what happened beyond, this brief report that we've seen from KCTV5. But I'll tell you what, throw the book at all of them. I don't want to see any of these scumbags around Kansas City anytime soon. Make a case, make a point, make a moment, Gene Peters Baker, as you leave Kansas City, Missouri, and leave Jackson County as the prosecutor. Thank goodness, long overdue. And do something good for this community for once. Would you please? And make a scene out of these thugs who ruined an otherwise really great day for Kansas City on the world stage. Fine, Willie Gay was too drunk. So was Travis Kelce. He was an embarrassment that day trying to sing Garth Brooks. Oh, I've got friends. And then he's falling over. Mahomes is catching him as he's trying to sing Friends in Low Places. It's just embarrassing. Don't get me wrong, it was. But Jean Peters Baker, whose legacy will not be a positive one here in Jackson County, at least for those of us who tell the truth, she can at least leave on a high note by sending a message to anybody who wants anything to do with crime in this town when it comes to major events with enormous amounts of innocent people. She's got to send a message. And she can do it. And she should do it. And I hope that she does. And you know what? Lindell Mays can take his sister with him, as far as I'm concerned. You're not dealing with the cream of the crop here. You're just not. Now, speaking of events that took place that day, remember the guy in Olathe who, got arrested that day for basically disorderly conduct? He was just a little drunk. But the photos circulated of him on social media that he was like an illegal alien who was involved in the shooting. And then people were like, oh, man, Joe Biden's border at work. It was so dumb because there's so many actual factual instances of Joe Biden's border chaos causing issues around the country. People didn't need to make one up. But that's what happened. So this guy in Olathe goes viral as an alleged illegal alien shooter from that day. And he wasn't and is not an illegal alien. He is not involved with the shooting. He was just kind of drunk. The guy in the red sweater that went viral. Well, you also had an issue here where you had members of our local governments who ran with that, who shared that photo of this man, and who said, yeah, see, this is Joe Biden's border policies at work. And it was like, guys, please use your heads for 2 seconds. So here's what's going on with that, by the way. Jeremiah Morgan, a deputy attorney general, is listed in court documents as the attorney for State Senator Rick Bratton down in Cass County, who, along with two other members of the Missouri Senate, Denny Hoskins and Nick Schroer, were sued last month over posts on social media misidentifying Denton Loudermill of Olathe, Kansas, as an undocumented immigrant. I'm reading this from the Missouri Independent. They won't use the phrase illegal alien, but an undocumented immigrant and the shooter at the Chiefs Parade. Now, on the flip side, a spokesperson for Attorney General Andrew Bailey confirmed that all three senators are being represented by the state. Now, why would our tax dollars be used to represent elected officials who are being dopes? I mean, I agree with a lot of these guys on their policy, Rick Bratton, Denny Hoskins, Nick Schroer. I don't know them all, but I've met them, at least a couple of them, and their policies are good down in Jeff City. But why should our tax dollars be used to defend them when they were being complete fools on social media and jumping to conclusions when clearly there was nothing there? Like, is that even if you're like a Republican right now, right? This is not about left and right. This is, you want to scream all day about how your money's being wasted, and now your money's being wasted on the legal defense for state senators who are putting up accusations on social media that were never proven to be true, and in fact, were inherently untrue, and were misguided. And we're just, the very definition of fake news.
Fake news.
I don't want that. I wouldn't want $1 of my tax monies going to that. Now, the article goes on to note the Attorney General's role in the lawsuits was first reported Thursday evening last night by Missouri Scout. The defamation lawsuit should be dismissed. The AG's office contends in a motion filed Thursday because the senators were acting in their official capacity when they made their posts on social media. Therefore, they are protected by legislative immunity. The post falsely claimed Loudermill was an undocumented immigrant, and they were directed at the president, the attorney general's office argues, and referring to border security. I think it is dicey, of course, when people are posting things on social media that are factually inaccurate. But listen, we do have that happen across the aisle. I would love to see all politicians held to a higher standard on this stuff. How about the people who are claiming Donald Trump was a Russian agent? Can people go after those politicians? I'd love to see that. So I'm not sympathetic to people who are bad-mouthing and making accusations against this guy, Denton Loudermill in Olathe, with no facts to back it up. But I will say, you want to play that game right on the other side. How many people were saying that Trump was secretly a Russian stooge back in 2016, and that was not based in any reality? Now, it wasn't as little reality as this, but it was lacking a lot of reality. So I'd love to see our elected leaders at the state level to the federal level being held to account for their terrible, misguided, inaccurate social media posts to some degree. Denton Loudermill, in one case, is suing them. And if that's got to happen across the political aisle, so be it. 913-408-7957. It's 643 on a Friday morning on KCMO. The jobs report is going to be dropping at 7:30 today. We'll get a look at what exactly that looks like. I'm sure it's going to look a little rosier than we expect because that's how it always goes. But then you got to dig into the numbers. You got to see where the jobs are coming from, how many are full-time, how many are part-time. So that is 45 minutes away on KCMO in just over 1 hour. Bill O'Reilly is going to be here on 95.7 FM. So stream it on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Kristi Noem, dog killer. R.I.P. Cricket. Happy Friday. It's good to be here on KCMO Talk Radio. So Kristi Noem, the South Dakota governor, has just had a brutal week since it came out in her book that she killed her 14-month-old dog. Just blasted it right after it apparently ate a couple chickens and ruined her pheasant hunting experience. Got a little excited, started barking, making noise, and, pheasants went nuts, and she got all upset and just, put the dog, down. Just shot it. So she is in damage control mode. She desperately wants to be Donald Trump's VP pick, although I saw a list this morning on Fox News, and she was not on it. Who was on it here? I saw Marco Rubio. So little Marco made the list. J.D. Vance out of Ohio, Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, and Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor, who's known by absolutely no one. Even Doug Burgum's second cousin is like, is that guy? Is that Doug? Oh, yeah. Oh, Doug. Hey, Doug, what's up, buddy? So, listen, out of those, I would probably go little Marco. But then you got the whole Florida thing, so that could be problematic. I'm not a big Tim Scott guy. I like Tim Scott, but he wouldn't be my VP pick. J.D. Vance, yeah, okay. I don't think he adds much to the ticket. So I don't love the list, but neither here nor there. I still think Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the way to go, but Trump hasn't asked me yet. So anyway, Kristi Noem is in damage control. She's trying to get this whole dog thing figured out. Not only is it ridiculous that she shot a dog for eating some chickens, but she also wrote about it in the book. And let's be honest, when these politicians write these books, they're supposed to just make themselves look good. So she goes on Hannity the other night to defend herself and to back up her dog shooting tactics. And here is what Kristi Noem had to say.
Well, Sean, you know how the fake news works. They leave out some or most of the facts of a story. They put the worst spin on it. And that's what's happened in this case. I hope people really do buy this book and they find out the truth of this story, because the truth of this story is that this was a working dog and it was not a puppy. It was a dog that was extremely dangerous. It had come to us from a family who had found her way too aggressive. We were her second chance, and she the day she was put down was a day that she massacred livestock that were part of our neighbors. She attacked me, and it was a hard decision. And the reason it's in the book is because this book is filled with tough, challenging decisions that I've had to make throughout my life. And I hope that people understand from this that what the point of this story is that most politicians, they will run from the truth. They will shy away and hide from making tough decisions. I don't do either of those. I tell the truth and I make tough decisions. People attacked me during COVID for keeping my state open. They called me wrong and attacked me night after night on TV for not doing mandates and not forcing people to get vaccines or wear masks. They're doing it again now with this. I just hope people will read the book, find out the truth, because this was a dangerous animal. And I had a choice between keeping my small children and other people safe or a dangerous animal, and I chose the safety of my children.
You know, I was shocked when we learned that Joe Biden, and he has a German Shepherd, that when all was said and done, 24 Secret Service agents were bitten by a German Shepherd, by a big dog.
I love Hannity, but what does Joe Biden's German Shepherd have to do with what she just said? Like, was Hannity even listening, or is he just like have his little note cards there and just start talking about, Joe Biden?
He's like, Biden's weak. He didn't shoot his dog on the lawn.
If we had a real man in the White House, he would have blasted that SOB.
That's kind of where that was going.
Oh, brother. So that was Kristi Noem. It's amazing how the story has morphed into, I was protecting my children. Isn't that something? And by the way, her description as to why she shot Cricket has completely morphed.
Mm-hmm.
The book describes a dog that was just untrainable for pheasant hunting and killed a neighbor's chickens. That's it. Now all of a sudden, it's like, oh, man, this dog was a danger to my kids. Then that's not in the book. I mean, there's multiple examples of this that I've gone through reading the excerpts from the book, and nothing mentions a danger to her children.
It's semantics, right? So we hear the words, we all have our own image. So as soon as I hear livestock, I'm thinking cattle.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing about a dog that's killing cattle.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what she said, but I think that's her inference. It's like the Slutsky asking for humanitarian aid when they wanted water and pizza at Columbia University.
There is an element to that. There's no doubt about it. That's exactly what this is. So, listen, I like Kristi Noem. I don't have an issue with Kristi Noem. I don't think she's a good VP pick for Trump. But the way that she has completely morphed this story while claiming it's the fake news media coming after her is so disingenuous on so many levels. Like, you shot your dog. You were dumb enough to put it in your book. And now you're getting roasted for it across the political aisle. And now you're like, the fake news is coming after me. I make tough decisions. I didn't make people wear masks, and I didn't make them get the shot. And, that's because I stand up for my people and shoot my dog. I don't know what shooting your dog has to do with standing up for, your citizens during COVID. Like, I'm pretty sure you can stand up for your citizens during COVID without being a dog killer. I don't think those things can be mutually exclusive. I don't think you have to be a dog killer to do the right thing when it comes to public policy. But, hey, that's just me looking from afar. 913-408-7957. Wes is on KCMO. He's in Gladstone. Hello, Wes. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Yeah, hey, Pete. So whenever I first saw this story, I thought exactly like you did. Why are you bringing this up? This is stupid, okay? This is just nuts. I don't know what you're going to try to prove with this, okay? But let's look at the facts as she presented them. She takes this dog out to go pheasant hunting, and it scares up all the birds. Well, right there, she's pissed off, man, okay? Because she's probably spent some time trying to train this dog. Plus, you're out there trying to hunt, and it just ruins the hunt. So you're pissed off. Then you go to your friend's house, and you let the dog jump out of the truck and kill a bunch of chickens. Well, you're pissed off again. So what did she do? She was pissed off. She shot it in the head. That's how the thing went down, okay? And it shows, hey, when you get pissed off, you do stupid things. Like, who wants your finger on the button, right?
You're right. I can't trust somebody who buries a bullet into a dog because, he had a bad pheasant hunt. I can't trust that person.
Well, right, because you got pissed off. Okay, look, I was raised in the country. My dad had quail dogs. When they got old, we did Solution 22, okay? I won't go into what that was, but that was a different matter. It wasn't because Dad was pissed off because they flushed their covey of quail and put a bullet in their head, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's and this, I was saving it from saving my children. Holy man, now she's fighting off the big bad wolf.
Yeah, I mean the whole
ridiculous,
it just sounds ridiculous. It's all about the kids saving the kids. No one's buying that, Wes. Please.
Yeah. Oh, that is. Yeah,
all right.
That's over the top. Okay.
You
guys have a good weekend.
You too, my man. You too. Who do you want to be Trump's VP, real quick? Who do you want to be Trump's VP?
I'm looking like it's probably going to be J.D. Vance, man. Because
Yeah.
I think he's got the he's got the moral timber to carry on after Trump is gone in 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, he wrote a great book. What a great book.
Yeah.
I'll give him that much. Hillbilly Elegies, an all-timer. Thank you, Wes. Appreciate it. 913-408-7957. Kristi Noem just, took a bullet to her own political career. No pun intended, is what she did with this dog story. Because she got condemnation across the political aisle. Like Wes said, it's not about rural versus suburban or urban. It's you got a 14-month-old dog, needs some training, screwed up a pheasant hunt for you. Okay, ate the neighbor's chicken. If the neighbor shot the dog, that's a different conversation. But you doing it yourself to the 14-month-old dog? No, it's not going to endear you to a large portion of America. It's just not. And there was some pretty funny stuff on social media. I saw one clip that went viral. It was of a guy sitting on his couch watching the Kristi Noem interview, and he pans over to his couch where his golden retriever is sitting, and the golden retriever jumps off the couch and runs behind it. The jobs report comes out in 15 minutes. What is that going to look like? We'll have it for you on KCMO. Bill O'Reilly at 8 o'clock. Don't miss it on 95.7 FM and the KCMO Talk Radio app. Welcome to the 80s, Bill O'Reilly. Boy George reference. All right, we've got him up from the 50s and the 60s to making his musical references in the 1980s. I love it. That is well said by Bill O'Reilly. He's going to be here at 8:05 this morning, so make sure if you're at the office by then, you are streaming us on the KCMO Talk Radio app, and just put in your earbuds if you're worried about, triggering the woke loser in the cubicle next to you. All right? So speaking of the protest that Bill O'Reilly just succinctly recapped there, and he'll have more with that on this show in about 40 minutes. Chris Kobach, the Kansas Attorney General, put out a very strong statement yesterday reminding KU that the protesters' demands are illegal. So the KU protests started breaking out here in the last couple of days or so. And, it hasn't been Columbia-esque, but it has been happening. And you have had some of these losers outside of Chancellor Doug Girard's office with lame chants like this.
Committing genocide! You're committing genocide! Girard, you can't hide! Girard, you can't hide! You're committing genocide! You're committing genocide! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Mark gets all excited in there. He starts shaking his shoulders a little bit, does a little shimmy for us as the protesters are doing their little song and dance. He loves it.
Oh, yeah. They're all the same.
They're all the same. Gerard, you can't hide. You're committing genocide. None of them were in the choir, by the way. You can tell based on their voices. And none of them were either in the choir or beauty pageant participants, as far as I can tell, too. Let's just call it like it is. I don't know why. I think they wear masks to hide themselves, but they also just might wear masks because, and I'm not trying to be mean, it's just something you notice across the board. Like, these are people, in large part, who are not going to be Miss America or Mr. Universe on either side. It's just, there's something to be said for that. But anyway, Chris Kobach, here's what he put out in his statement yesterday. Kansas law prohibits the University of Kansas from granting pro-Hamas protesters' demands. Kansas AG Chris Kobach wrote in a letter sent to KU Chancellor Doug Girard and members of the Kansas Board of Regents. Kobach's letter reads in part, as is often the case with uninformed, petulant loudmouths, the protesters have not done their research. Oh, that is beautiful. And their views are reprehensible, and I trust that you will not honor them. Protesters at KU are demanding that the university divest financial ties to Israel. However, the Kansas legislature has already spoken on the topic. Kobach's letter reads in part, the University of Kansas has many hallowed traditions, but siding with bloodthirsty anti-Semitic terrorists is not one of them. I encourage you to enforce all applicable university rules and regulations so that the educational mission of the university is not disrupted. The taxpayers of Kansas expect and deserve the very best from KU. Well, that's a great statement from Kobach, and now I want to know where the governor is. I mean, the university is funded in part, obviously, by the taxpayers of the state. It is not a private university. And I think we're getting to the point here. If these protests continue throughout the weekend, I'd like it to happen today. I don't think it will, but I'd like to hear Governor Kelly condemn this. I know she's too busy doing things like vetoing tax cut plans for all of Kansas, but in the meantime, if she can find time in between to condemn the pro-Hamas terrorist demands, I would love that. That would put an end to this right here in the state of Kansas and do it real fast. If you had the governor and the attorney general in this state, who, of course, don't forget, ran against each other back in 2018 in that gubernatorial race. If we could at least get Democrats and Republicans in Kansas to condemn the protesters on KU's campus, we'd be in a great place right now as a state on a bipartisan basis. It would be good for the people of Kansas. It would be good for the university. You would then have Doug Girard, the chancellor, saying, all right, I've got the backing of the Democratic governor. I've got the backing of the Republican attorney general. I'm going to do what I've got to do. But I'm not getting the sense just yet that Doug Girard has the backbone at this point to put an end to this and to tell these protesters to basically get back in the classroom, get ready for finals, and then get out of here. I don't think he's got the backbone to do it. Not based on what I've seen thus far. Now, he's not letting it spiral like at some of these college campuses, but he's not doing everything he should be doing just yet. So we've just got to monitor this, see how it plays out, and I'm hopeful that things don't get worse at KU. But listen, based on what you've seen around the rest of the country, there's no guarantees. We'll just leave it at that, right? You can't guarantee anything at this point based on what's happened at UCLA, Columbia, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Austin, Texas. It's been all over the country. Coming up next on KCMO, the jobs report. It'll be dropping in 90 seconds. What will come out of it? We'll find out shortly on 95.7 FM.